Hey guys, so we're continuing our photosynthesis lesson. And here, I gotta wait for the little thing to disappear. Okay, so here we're going to focus with the light reaction. So light dependent reaction obviously is dependent on light. So this must have light to occur. Okay, scooch myself. Okay, so the light reactions, and here's our little overview. So notice light and water are coming in. Oxygen, ATP, and NADPH will come out of the light reactions. And then specifically what's happening in this process involves, among other things, a electron transport chain system. Actually, a couple of them. Do you have to know all these specific, every single little piece reactions? No. So these will occur in the thylakoid membrane in the photosystems. Specifically, it's going to be it has to involve the chlorophyll because those are the light gathering pigments, okay? And its the job of photosynthesis is, of course, to convert solar energy into chemical energy. And we're going to do that in this process going from light to ATP and NADPH. Okay. So the chemical energy that we are going to end up with at the end of the light reactions will be two different molecules. One is called NADPH and the other is ATP. So if ATP would be US dollars, NADPH might be pesos. Okay, it's still the same type of thing. It's still an energy molecule, but it's one that we won't be able to use in the form it is to run reactions. The cell accomplishes this conversion by using light energy, the photons, to excite electrons. So the light comes in and it makes this electron excited, and then we can pass this electron along through an electron transport chain, basically sucking off that energy, that excitement from the electron. So how is light important to chlorophyll? How is this a system? How is this set up? Okay. So you'll notice here we have our photon coming in to the chlorophyll molecule, and there's this electron that's at a certain ground state. It gets excited and then giving off heat and photons. We're getting back to the ground state. Okay, so chlorophyll absorbs a photon of light. The electron gets boosted, gets excited from the ground state to the excited state. That electron is, of course, unstable because it's not in its normal condition, and it will fall back to the ground state, releasing energy as heat and emitting photons as fluorescence. So the photosystems are the reaction centers and light capturing complexes. Notice there's a photosystem 2 and a photosystem 1. When we say reaction center, what we mean is a complex of proteins that are associated with chlorophyll A and an electron acceptor. So there's there's a whole series of proteins that are involved in the process. That's what we mean when we say reaction center. In terms of the light capturing complexes, pigments associated with these proteins are what captures the light. So our different chlorophylls in particular. So what we want you to think of is we've got an antenna for the reaction center. The antenna is going to get the signal, and then we're going to pass it through the center. So the pigment's going to capture the light energy, and then we're going to pass it through the string of proteins that are associated. So we have photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. In the thylakoid membrane, there are two photosystems. Photosystem 2 has a reaction center P680. So that means it absorbs light at 680 nanometers. Photosystem 1, the reaction center is P700, and it absorbs light at the 700 nanometer points. They are named in order of their discovery. So we found photosystem 1 first, even though it's the actual second photosystem in the process. It's a little confusing because one doesn't normally come after two, but that's the way they were discovered, and so they didn't change the numberings. Okay, so in the next few slides, the electron, remember that electron that we're going to get excited, is going to flow through the thylakoid membrane, and we're going to kind of go through that process. The picture is going to be broken down. So this great big picture, we're going to break it down into steps. We're going to start at photosystem 2. Now remember, do you have to know this very, very specific diagram with all the individual little steps? No. Do you have to understand the basis of the process? Yes. Okay, so when we get to photosystem 2, light is going to come in to the pigment molecule. Light energy causes an electron to go from an excited state back to the ground state. We're going to do this over and over and over. And it's going to keep happening until it reaches the 680 pair of chlorophyll molecules. So we're going to keep bouncing it around until it gets where we actually want it to go. Okay. The electron is transferred to a primary electron acceptor, forming what we call P680 plus. Water is going to come into the system and it splits. Oxygen is released and hydrogens are separated out. So we have 2 electrons. That's going to reduce P680 plus. We have 2 hydrogen ions. They're going to be released into the thylakoid space. And we have 1 oxygen atom, which is going to immediately bond to another oxygen atom. Remember, this is one of the ones that we said does not exist by itself in nature. So it's always going to be bonded. So light came in, excited and transferred till we got to the P680. Excited the electron, which went to the primary acceptor. We take water and break it. We have 2 hydrogens. We have an oxygen atom that's going to bond with another, and we have 2 electrons that are going to reduce P680 plus to basically get it ready to do the process again. So the linear electron flow, each excited electron passes from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1 via the electron transport chain. So that electron that went up here to the primary acceptor, it's going to go through an electron transport chain to get to photosystem 1. Here's our little electron. Goes through to this molecule, to this molecule, to this molecule. Remember, I told you it's a chain, so it's like a game of hot potato. We're going to pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. But you don't have to know all the individual little pieces. So the fall of the electrons, so as they're progressing through the hot potato game, through that electron transport chain, from photosystem 1 to photosystem 2 provides energy to form ATP. So notice we've got the hydrogen ion gradient is kind of a potential energy. We got all these hydrogen ions way down here. And ATP synthase couples with the diffusion. So we're going to move the hydrogens to the other side. And in this process going through ATP synthase, it allows us to extract that energy and put it into the ATP molecule. So now we've gone through the electron transport chain, hop, 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 and we're going into photosystem 1. The light energy excites the electrons for P700, and it becomes P700 plus. Because the electron gets excited and goes to a primary acceptor. So far it's basically the same process we did with the other one, it's just at a different wavelength. And this time we're going to go down another transport chain, but this time instead of making ATP, we're going to make NADPH using NADP plus reductase. So NADP plus the energy from the electrons and the hydrogens makes NADPH. NADP, NADPH. Okay? So we've made ATP and we've made NADPH. Light reaction inputs, water, ADP and NADP, because we need those to transform. Outputs, we get oxygen, ATP, NADPH. To summarize the light reaction, we're going to convert solar energy to chemical energy. The chemical energy is in the forms of NADPH and ATP. Water is split. It provides a source of electrons and protons, the hydrogens, and it releases O2 as a byproduct. Light absorbed by the chlorophyll drives the transfer of electrons and hydrogen ions from H2O, water, to an electron acceptor called NADP+. NADP+ is reduced to NADPH. See how it's picking up the hydrogen ions? This will generate, it also generates ATP by phosphorylating ADP. That happens in photosystem 2. Okay. So hopefully that will kind of give you an idea, big overview of what's happening in the light reaction. So it's all about taking that energy from the light and through excited electrons and electron transport chains, creating ATP and NADPH. Oxygen is a byproduct that's released. Of course, we like that byproduct since that's what we inhale. And we need to do another process that we're going to talk about a little later, but we still got to finish with our photosynthesis, and we'll do that in the next video.